All right, well, it is 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the 2027 Small Grants for Community Partnering webinar. I'm Andrea Weber, and I work for Larimer County's Department of Natural Resources as a Senior Administrative Specialist. I am the day-to-day main point of contact for the Small Grants for Community Partnering program. Joining us is Jen Almstead. She has been involved with the program since 2016 and is here today to assist with the Q&A segment. The purpose of today's webinar is to ensure that you have a good understanding of Larimer County's grant program and the types of projects that we are looking for. By the end of the presentation, we hope that you, the applicant, can decide if this grant opportunity is right for your organization, school, nonprofit, or HOA. Before we dive in, we have some housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded and it will be sent out to everyone who is registered. It will also be posted on the county's Small Grants webpage within the week. You will be muted and your video shut off to help limit distractions for other participants. Please enter all of your questions in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. You can add your questions at any time, but we will wait until the end of the presentation to answer them. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Larimer County Department of Natural Resources' mission is to connect people, nature, and place. The department conserves and manages significant open space, natural areas, and wildlife habitat here in Larimer County. The county offers 13 amazing spaces for outdoor recreation, and some familiar examples include Horsetooth Mountain Open Space, Hermit Park, and River Bluffs. These offerings wouldn't be possible without the residents of Larimer County, who voted to support the Help Preserve Open Space sales tax back in 1995, which was extended in 2014 and will sunset in 2043. Every year, a portion of the sales tax dollars are allocated to the Small Grants program to distribute and support nature-based neighborhood and community projects in Larimer County. The program seeks to fund projects that align with DNR's mission, meet key community needs, and inspire stewardship of the natural world. For the grant webinar today, we will cover the program background, eligibility, the funding opportunity, some application tips, and close with a Q&A. The program has been around for 28 years, and we have awarded grants to communities throughout Larimer County using the Help Preserve Open Space sales tax dollars. The program was created by the department to provide the community with direct access to these sales tax dollars and to support community-led, nature-based projects. To date, the program has awarded over $470,000 to 253 projects. Organizational eligibility includes the following: community organizations, nonprofit organizations and research universities, HOAs, and K-12 schools. We're looking for new and capacity building requests. We do not support general operating requests. All affected landowners must agree in writing with the project. Homeowners and property owners associations must provide a copy of the board meeting minutes approving the proposed projects. K-12 public schools must provide a letter from the appropriate facilities director agreeing to the specific project. Applicants leasing property from a private property owner must submit a letter from the owner agreeing to the project and include the signed lease agreement by all parties. And projects proposed on public lands must include a letter or permit from the land management agency agreeing to the proposed project. For the 2027 funding opportunity, requests are up to $4,000 per project and limited to one application per organization. The project must meet at least one of the grant categories, which we will discuss momentarily. The program requires a 50% in-kind or cash match of the grant request. For example, a $4,000 small grants request would require a minimum $2,000 match. Cash match includes direct funds from the organization or another donor or grant. An in-kind match can include donations, volunteer hours, in-kind services, and staff time. Volunteer rates are provided by the independent sector, and for 2025, the rate in Colorado was $39.99. But for this grant cycle, we will be rounding that up to $40 per hour. So there are 5 categories that your project must fall within. Your project can provide or enhance natural landscapes, and this can be anything from improving wildlife habitat, rivers, wetlands, community outdoor spaces, green belts, or ponds. But please note, if there is a planting component, the plants chosen need to be drought-resistant native plant species and cannot be invasive. For any new structures or changing existing structures, you'll need to meet city and planning criteria. Please reach out to the appropriate planning departments to confirm. The second category is providing nature-based environmental education. And this can include outdoor education signs and materials, outdoor classrooms, workshops, trainings, engagement with the community, or providing a base of learning about the environment in different ways. The third category is providing opportunities for people to connect with the land via providing access to nature for those experiencing barriers. This could include events that bring inner city youth or adults outdoors, transit options for underserved communities, and other projects that focus on health and recreation. Our fourth category is providing opportunities for people to connect with the land via local agricultural food production. This includes practices around improving soil, water, habitat, or community connection to agriculture. The Community-Supported Agriculture, or the CSA, must have a local distribution within Larimer County. And again, any structures being built or changed must be eligible and approved through the applicable planning departments. And our last category is research on Larimer County open spaces. And this could include projects that provide new information on the ecology, history, and/or the visitation of Larimer County open spaces. Research projects do need to be discussed with me before submitting your application to ensure alignment of the project with this grant program. Here are some examples of projects that have been supported over the years. This gives you a sense of the type of projects we funded in the past, but it is by no means an exhaustive list. From the top right to the left, we have the Loveland Youth Gardeners Community Garden that benefits the Boys and Girls Club and underserved youth in and throughout Loveland. Next is the Fossil Creek Meadows HOA Russian Olive Removal Project. And next to that is the YMCA of the Rockies reconstruction of an existing trail to make it more sustainable and accessible. And then down below is the American Adventure Sports Club providing adventure for everyone in Larimer County, followed by the Northern Colorado Food Shed Project, creating a native pollinator habitat for resilient farms and communities. And lastly, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science Research Project at Red Mountain Open Space, looking at lion sandstone. So for project eligibility, all projects must align with the department's mission to connect people, nature, and place with a community-centered focus that is inclusive and collaborative. Applicants may seek seed or capacity building funding for their project. General operating requests will not be considered. Proposed projects must be located or take place within Larimer County, and this includes unincorporated or within the city or town limits. Grant dollars can only be distributed within Larimer County, and preference will be given to projects associated with conserved lands. All awarded projects must be completed by December 31st, 2027, and applicants are responsible for obtaining all permits and necessary approvals for the project. And applicants must submit a project evaluation upon completion of the project to remain eligible for future funding. All right, we are going to dive into the application process and requirements for a complete and competitive application. The deadline is Friday, October 9th, 2026 by 11:59 p.m. You can access the application on our website via the web link. We will also include the link in the chat. There is a recommended step-by-step process on how to submit your application. The first step is to download the 2027 Grant Guidelines and Instructions document. This will walk you through the grant program categories, guidelines, application instructions, awards, and reporting requirements if awarded. The grant application template document found below that includes all of the questions you'll be asked to fill out in the online application. All information that we are covering today can be found in these documents, so be sure to review these thoroughly and carefully. The next step is to download the 2027 budget worksheet and budget example. Then you'll want to start coordinating any project materials, documents, and letters. We strongly encourage you to start board minutes early, facility letters, and landowner letters early as well. You'll start your online application, complete your budget worksheet, and submit in the online form. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the online application here. And Jen, can you confirm for me that you can see the application screen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this first section of the application will include general organizational information and details. The second section will be more general information on the project. And this will include things about the project, including project cost, matching funds, which should match your budget worksheet. Hence, we do suggest starting the budget worksheet before your application. This next section is more detailed project information. And please read the prompts very closely and clearly and answer the questions as concisely as you can. Please limit your question responses to 2,000 characters in this narrative section. In this section, you will describe the need, public access, partners, the budget narrative, and how the project will be maintained into the future. We will also ask you to provide an outcome metric that makes sense for your project. Some examples could be the number of volunteers involved, miles of trails maintained, number of youth served, and so on. This next section is the attachments. Some are required and some are optional. The budget worksheet and project information, maps, photos, designs are required for all projects. We would like to see a context and a site map, as well as design plans, but those are preferred. Photos should reflect the current site conditions. Property owner consent and IRS letters are only applicable for certain organizations and projects. And letters of support are optional for all projects, though we do strongly encourage them. This last section is general information, how you learned about the program, and that you agree with the stated terms provided. And that concludes this little application tutorial. All right, well, next, let's take a look at the budget worksheet. This is a brand new form this year that we created based on some feedback and requests for greater clarity. So it includes automatic calculations and blocked cells to assist with where to enter your information and numbers. For those of you who have applied in the past, please make sure you download this new sheet. So this top section here displays total funding from all cash and in-kind sources. The middle section is to itemize all materials and components funded by cash only. The bottom section is to itemize all in-kind materials, components, and their estimated values. In both sections, the first column here is for the vendor from which the materials will be purchased, and this second column is for the materials or item description. This worksheet includes 2 automated checks to guide you. One, the difference box in the bottom right corner compares total funding against total project costs to show you if you are on, over, or under budget. Being over or under budget isn't necessarily an issue. For example, phase projects can often span multiple funding years. The second check is the 50% match requirement located at the bottom of the spreadsheet. This displays a pass or fail depending on whether your project meets the 50% funding match threshold. But please note, these checks are purely informational tools to help you review your numbers. They will not automatically penalize or reject your application. So we'll go ahead and work through an example project budget. So this top section is where you will include all funding sources and the dollar amounts for each. You'll work your way from left to right, and the total funding column will automatically calculate for you as you go. At the top, you'll enter the project name, the organization name, and select the grant program category from the drop-down tab. The first section is for cash funds. The first row will be the small grants request, followed by the organization contribution and other cash funds. The in-kind section will follow, and this is the place where any in-kind contributions and volunteer funds will go. And again, work your way from left to right. And for each category, you will choose whether the funding is pending or complete. Once you complete the section, the total source of funds will populate in this highlighted area. And we're going to zoom in on the cash section here. So this section is for all of your cash expenses and funding. As with the previous section, you'll work your way from left to right. You'll enter the vendor name in the far left column, and then the item description in the next. Insert how many of the item, the cost per item, and the funding source. The total item cost and total funding will automatically be filled in as you enter your values. You'll continue this all the way down. And once you've filled in all the cells, the purple section will calculate the cash totals of each funding source. And for this section, please note the different categories. It includes materials and supplies, transportation, and contract labor. This next section is for all in-kind expenses and funding. Again, starting at the top, enter the vendor name, followed by the item description, number of units, cost per unit, and the funding source. Please note, in this one, the small grants column is blocked out as a small grant cannot be used for your in-kind match. And once you've entered all of your in-kind items into the materials and supplies, transportation, labor, and MIS categories, the totals will appear at the bottom. And we will be available to review draft budgets from now until Monday, September 28th. Please send these directly to me, and we will review and provide any suggested comments and edits before the submission deadline. So when it comes to your budget, let's break down what this grant can and cannot cover. On the eligible side, up to 5% of your total request can go towards delivery costs. The core of your funding should cover direct project expenditures such as implementation materials and supplies like seeds, drip irrigation, or educational signage. Tools and equipment can only be funded if you're a registered 501c3 organization. As for what we cannot fund, that includes annual operating expenses and ongoing maintenance. Those are both strictly ineligible. Contract labor, with the exception of invasive species tree removal, also cannot be paid for directly with grant funds, though you are welcome to apply these costs as a cash match. Now, there are a few important exceptions to keep in mind. So room rentals are also covered, but specifically for community workshops. Transportation expenses are limited strictly to nature access and research projects. Similarly, staff salaries can only be directly funded for research projects and for all other project categories, you'll need to count staff time as in-kind match instead. So to set your application up for success, we have a couple tips here. So the single most important step is to review all the grant materials carefully. We strongly encourage you to reach out to us at any point to discuss your ideas or ask any questions. We are here to help. Above all, we are looking for shovel-ready projects. That means your project is thoroughly thought out, backed by a detailed budget, supported by solid designs, and fully prepared for execution and completion within the grant year. Strong applications also need to demonstrate broad community benefits through clear local need, strong letters of support, and active engagement with partners and volunteers. Lastly, keep our website bookmarked. It is your best resource for any updates, resources, and answers to any frequently asked questions. And here are the 2026 awarded projects at the mid-season update. These projects were selected because they were compelling projects that met a need within the community. These projects stood out to our review committee because they provided access to underserved communities, facilitated educational opportunities for youth, provided enhancement of natural spaces, and most importantly, they all involved extensive volunteer and community support and collaboration. So we're going to cover just a couple of our most common frequently asked questions. So our first question is, how shovel-ready does the project need to be? Well, projects should be ready to begin implementation by March or April and be completed by December of the grant year. Proposals should include a detailed budget, project goals and objectives, and demonstrate that the organization is prepared to execute the project within that timeline. Is the grant dispersed as a reimbursement or as a direct payment? This grant is not a reimbursement. Once the required paperwork is submitted and approved, a check is mailed directly to the organization. However, at the end of the project, grantees are required to submit a final report along with copies of their receipts. Do you support phase projects? Yes, phase projects are eligible. Each phase will be evaluated independently, but be sure to include details about both the specific phase being proposed and the context within the larger project scope. And can projects on private property be awarded funding? Yes, the project must demonstrate a clear community need and environmental benefits. For example, HOAs or other private entities must show how the broader community benefits from the proposed work. The 2027 grant cycle opened in July and will close in October. Once the application is closed, we will be reviewing the eligibility of the projects. In November and December, a small grants committee of Natural Resource Advisory Board members and staff will review and score the applications. In January and February, funding recommendations will be brought to the Natural Resources Advisory Board, and the board will make a motion to approve or deny the recommendations. After the board meeting, awardees will be notified and sent the contract. By March, all contracts should be signed and returned to me before the funds can be spent. The funds will be sent to the awardee via a check in the full amount awarded. If you are interested in this program and have a project idea, take our eligibility quiz to see if your project is a good fit for the program. This quiz is available all year, and if you score 100%, you're probably in a great position to apply for the grant. If not, go ahead and get in touch with us. We're happy to review your project and discuss options or possible limitations. And on the screen, you can see there's a QR code to access that eligibility quiz. All right, and here's our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to one of us if you'd like to discuss your project. And this concludes the presentation portion of the webinar. Thanks again for being here. Now I'd like to open the Q&A segment of the webinar. Remember, please put your questions into the question box and we'll try to answer them all today if we can. And with that, Jen, I will turn it over to you for questions.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks everyone for being here. We're glad to have you. There have been a number of questions that have been put in the Q&A, and I think we've responded to most of them, but I'll go ahead and just quickly remind folks that this webinar is being recorded. You'll get the recording later this week. And I'll just go ahead and read a couple that were submitted. If an organization received this grant in the past, are they eligible to apply again? And yes, absolutely, you're eligible to apply. We just ask if an organization has received 3 consecutive years of funding from the program that they're required to take a year off. And so I don't think we have that situation right now with any of our grantees. So yes, please apply. We do ask that you limit 1 application per grant cycle. Another question was about in-kind donations, specifically about the value of the volunteer hour. And we have a set rate of $40 per hour. We're using the independent sector as a guide and to inform us of how what we place that volunteer labor value at. It is $39.99, but it makes the budget worksheet a little more difficult and challenging. So we're rounding it up to 40 per hour for the 2027 program year. We did get several questions about very specific project ideas. And so for those of you, I've reached out to you independently and just letting you know to reach out to us to discuss your project further, just so that we can better understand the scope of your project and advise you accordingly. As someone asked, can the same individual apply on behalf of 2 different organizations? I guess, I mean, if the organizations are applying and you happen to be involved with both, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yes. That's all I'm seeing at the moment. Well, if anyone has any other questions, please go ahead and put those into the chat now. And we'll give it a couple more minutes, but yeah, we appreciate all of you and your interest in the Small Grants for Community Partnering program. We are very interested in hearing from you and would love to hear the projects that you're thinking of putting together, where Andrea and I are both available to meet with you and talk with you about the program and answer any questions you might have. Again, as Andrea mentioned, there's a ton of information on our website. Please review the materials and look through it. We've spent a lot of time trying to give you kind of a good roadmap as to the next steps and looking and applying. The eligibility quiz, someone just asked where they can find it. It is on that Small Grants for Community Partnering program website, and we did put that in the link in the communication as part of this webinar. We would strongly encourage you to take the eligibility quiz, and that's a great first step to see how competitive you would be or if your project is eligible. And then as a next step, read through the guidelines and then reach out to us if there are any questions that you want to chat about. That's why we're here. We want to help you and get the information that you need to prepare the next steps. And just as a good kind of rule of thumb, it's always a good idea to get those permission letters, getting the property owner, if you don't own the property, if you're leasing the property, get those types of letters completed first. The board minutes, those types of things, there is some flexibility there, but the more you can be proactive in getting those kinds of documents and information will kind of set you up for success. Well, Andrea, I'm not seeing any more questions coming in, so I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Jen, for covering the Q&A portion. Great questions, and I'll just reiterate what Jen said. If you have any questions about your project, please reach out to either one of us, and we'd love to discuss that. And we appreciate everybody being here today. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, everybody. Glad you could be here.
Bye.